All right, I'm getting the gentle nod from the clerk, so we think we're good. Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Council of the Municipality of North Perth. Our meeting date is Monday, March 9th, 2026. I'm Mayor Todd Kasenberg and I'll call this meeting to order. I asked the clerk to note our starting time for the minutes as 7 p.m. A warm welcome and greetings are extended to councillors, staff, delegations, and observers who may participate in this meeting, whether they are physically in attendance in the council chamber in Listowel or being connected through web technologies. We begin tonight's meeting with the playing of O Canada. Those in chambers as able are invited to stand. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe peoples. We wish to recognize the long history of Indigenous peoples in Canada and show our respect to them today. We recognize their stewardship of the land. May we all live with respect on this land and live in peace and friendship. Tonight's meeting is being streamed live on the Municipality of North Perth YouTube channel and will be available there after the meeting as an archived video. To those who are viewing via the YouTube channel, a warm welcome to you. To those present in the gallery today by attending a public meeting of the Council, you are consenting to your image, voice, and comments being recorded. Anyone who is invited to speak will be recorded and their voice, image, and comments will form part of the live stream. The chair and/or the clerk have the discretion and authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of live streaming. Such direction will only be given in exceptional circumstances when deemed relevant. Circumstances may include instances where the content of debate is considered misleading, defamatory, or potentially inappropriate to be published. Attendees are advised that they may be subject to legal action if their actions result in inappropriate and/or unacceptable behavior and/or comments. At this time, I invite your decorum over the course of the coming meeting. I do have regrets tonight from Councillor Mark Nordham. Let us move to item 5 on our agenda pertaining to pecuniary interest. Members of council have full lives with engagement in the community. Sometimes they may find themselves with a potential financial or pecuniary interest in an item at the council table. Provincial legislation mandates councillors to declare this interest and in so doing avoid direct involvement in the consideration of or voting on the item. I invite all councillors with a perceived pecuniary interest to verbally advise the chair in public session. Documentation is to be submitted, if not already done, pursuant to council procedures. Councillors may declare now or at any point during the meeting should such interest be recognized. Colleagues, I haven't received any ahead of time advice on this. Anyone wishing to make a declaration at this hour? I'm not seeing anyone who's putting up their hand for that, so let's move on. As chair of this meeting, I will manage the flow of proceedings tonight and largely in accord with our agenda and rules of procedure. Some may be participating remotely by web conference. Should they wish to speak, they may draw the attention of the clerk to this using the conference technology's text chat function. If technical difficulties arise for remote participants, I will advise, and I believe I saw Colton on duty tonight. Let us now focus on the people's business. Part of that focus is achieved when those in the chamber silence and put away their phones. Regarding item 6 of our agenda, I have a resolution for our consideration to approve the agenda as follows, that the agenda for tonight's meeting be approved. Can I call for a mover? Moved by Councillor Anstett, seconded by Councillor Andreessen. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. Councillor Rothwell, manual vote in favor. Thank you. Councillor Andreessen records a manual in favor vote. And with that, we have the requisite 9. That motion is carried. That brings us to item 7 on our agenda, the so-called consent agenda. Consent items are placed on our agenda because they're believed to be non-contentious, yet they may warrant council's recognition and/or action. Grouping them expedites our business. However, any councillor wishing to extract an item from the consent agenda for discussion, debate, or individual action may do so. There are 28 items on the consent agenda tonight, including the minutes of our last regular council meeting. Councillors, anything to extract here or any corrections you'd like seen made to the minutes? Councillor Johnston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening, council, and to visitors tonight. 7.6 I would like to talk about, please.
7.6, thank you. Anyone else wishing to make an extraction? Councillor Andreessen.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor Kiesenberg. Could I extract item 7.28?
7.28, okay, thank you. Anyone else with the item that they'd like to pull? Okay, let's proceed as we usually do with covering these items off that people wish to speak about. Councillor Johnston, that means the floor is yours for item 7.6.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's a letter from the our local school board here, the Avon-Maitland District School Board, dealing with the potential to lose our democratically elected trustees. And as they take over more and more school boards, I think we should push to keep our own democratically elected, that we can kind of have some control over our own schools instead of letting the province take them over. So I would be in favor of supporting this letter to save our trustees.
Okay, thank you. So we'll I think there's intent for a motion there. We'll craft a resolution in support of this. Did you want to make a comment? Councillor Blazek, yeah. We'll let the clerk work on that.
Thank you, and thanks for bringing this to our attention, Councillor Johnson. I think that this letter is really well written, and I want to give some credit to the Board of Trustees for the emphasis here about our rural schools and our needs being very different than perhaps the province is used to seeing in metropolises like Toronto. And so I think that there's so much value in really driving home the rural aspect of the education and the requirements here, and how our local trustees understand us in a way that people in a city just don't. So thanks for bringing this up, David. Obviously, I support your motion.
Local. That's the key to this.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. A little cross chat there. Let's be mindful of that. Let's turn to the clerk's table. Do we have a resolution that you've kind of pulled together for this support then?
Through the mayor, we have the motion worded as that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth supports agenda item 7.6 AMDSP request for provincial consultation and transparency regarding potential changes to English Public School Board governance, and that a support resolution be circulated to all relevant partners as copied on the original correspondence from the AMDSP.
We need to be sure that we also send it to the AMDSP just in case that is lost, obviously. All right, moved by Councillor Johnston. I'm suspecting it's seconded by Councillor Blazek. Thank you. Any further discussion or debate? It does seem like the school system in Ontario has been a target of provincial actions, and so it certainly is concerning that we've gone through the process of democracy and elected trustees, and now the province has taken action in, I think, 8 different locations now to remove trustees and appoint supervisors. It's not a happy circumstance and not great for democracy. So I'm supportive of this resolution. I think it's a good measure, and I thought, like Councillor Blazek, that the actual letter was extremely well crafted. Anyone else? All right, you have this queued up. Let's have that vote. Councillor Rothwell records a manual in favor vote. And that is unanimous. That is carried. All right, let's turn to item 7.28. Councillor Andreessen, that's you.
Thank you very much. Through you, Mayor Kaysenberg. 7.28 is a letter from the Perth County Federation of Agriculture regarding North Perth stormwater fees. Their concerns are very much related to how the Drainage Act covers any kind of stormwater concerns in rural areas. They're a little concerned that rural residents could be charged through the general tax levy for additional stormwater costs that would really be impacting our urban areas. I'm just wondering if it might be appropriate that staff just write a letter to return, like to clarify any of their concerns and provide the correct information so that they have it based on their concerns that they sent in the letter.
All right, thank you. Does staff wish the opportunity to respond to this briefly, orally at this point? The Treasurer, thank you. Mr. Romani?
Through you, Mayor Kaysenberg, and good evening, members of council. So as a follow-up from the stormwater rate study report that was November or December of last year, we do have a follow-up report based on Councillor Duncan's request, approved by council, to come back on what it would look like for the general tax levy. We can certainly take the comments in the report memo sent by the association and incorporate into a report that's forthcoming.
Okay, I think perhaps the concern that Councillor Andreessen is raising is that there should be some kind of acknowledgement, at least, that this letter has been received by this council and that attention is being paid to it. Is that something that staff can handle at our direction? Okay, thank you. Do you want direction? Sure. All right. So let's have a resolution of direction that council directs staff to prepare a letter in response to item 7.28 to the Perth County Federation of Agriculture that provides recognition that council has considered their request and that, and where feasible, provide answers to questions that have been posed. And acknowledge that there may be a process that's unfolding, something like that.
And there's an additional report forthcoming, right?
That's the process unfolding,
Yeah.
right? So something to that effect. Does that seem, you kind of got the gist of that? All right, thank you. So I'm going to assume, Councillor Andreessen, you will be the mover. Councillor Rothwell, you wish to second that. Thank you. Any discussion, debate, questions on this matter? All right, I'm not seeing any, so if the clerk's table is ready, let's have that vote.
Computer hasn't shut down yet.
Councillor Rothwell records a manual in favor vote, and we have 9 votes accounted for. That is carried. Thank you. Anyone else on the consent agenda? Last opportunity before we consider the omnibus resolution for this agenda item. All right, let's look at the general resolution then as follows. Consent item 7.1 to 7.28 be received for information, and the minutes of the February 23rd, 2026 regular council meeting be adopted. Moved by Councillor Richardson, seconded by Councillor Johnston. Any discussion or debate on the general resolution? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And Councillor Rothwell, sorry, I'm staring off into space at the monitor. It votes in favor, and so that is carried. Thank you. I must remember that your computer is doing what mine was 2 or 3 meetings ago. All right, let's move forward then to item 8. Our agenda indicates that we will hold a public meeting pertaining to matters under the Planning Act in the next time interval of council. And for the purpose of executing the public meeting, I use my discretion as head of council to announce a recess that will last the duration of the public meeting. This council is recessed. All right, let's turn to public meeting procedures. This is an application made under the Planning Act, and I welcome all those who have joined us this evening for the purpose of this public meeting pursuant to the Planning Act for a proposed amendment to the North Perth zoning bylaw. This is a statutory public meeting to deal with an application for zoning bylaw amendment number ZN1-2026 by Monteith Ritzma Phillips on behalf of Thalen Livestock Inc. for property legally described as Part Lot 25 and Part Lot 26, Concession 9, Wallace Ward, Municipality of North Perth. Correspondence, reports, and comments received regarding this application will be considered by council. Those in attendance wishing to make comment concerning this application will be given the opportunity to do so. Anyone wishing to appeal council's decision in this matter must make verbal submission during this public meeting or have made a written submission to the council. Those wishing to receive notice of the decision regarding this application must notify the clerk via email, telephone, or by utilizing the public meeting sign-in sheet, which is located on a desk at the back of the council chambers, giving their mailing address and telephone number. At this time, I'm going to call for a summary of the application. This will be offered by Nathan Garland, a planner for the County of Perth, who commonly works on North Perth files. Mr. Garland, always lovely to have you with us. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Kaysenberg and members of North Perth Council. I'm here to present application ZN1-2026. The owners are Thalen Livestock Incorporated, and the applicant is Monteith Ritzma Phillips. The location, as noted, is Part Lot 25, Part Lot 26, Concession 9 in Wallace Ward, Municipality of North Perth. The municipal address is 5929 Perth Road 178. It is located at the northern end of the township in Wallace Ward. Just a couple of site photos. So the application is a request. Council may recall this application for a surplus farm severance. This is the accompanying rezoning requirement. This is required as part of any kind of surplus farm severance. So a couple of site photos, one from Perth Road 78 looking south, one from Highway 23 or Perth Road 164 looking west towards the property also. So a couple of the outlines of the property and subject lands, just an outline of the proposed severed and retained lands. So the retained lands are requested to be rezoned A-62, which is to prohibit a house. So they can't locate a house there. That's one of the criteria or conditions for a surplus farm severance. And the proposed severed lands to an A-1, which does allow for a house on an undersized agricultural lot. This is a condition of severance application B54, 2025. There was a notice of public meeting provided on February 13th, 2026. No comments or concerns have been provided or expressed by any of the neighbors. MTO did provide comments as part of the severance application, just requesting that no entrances or accesses be included off of Highway 23. And then just as noted, it is to be rezoned A-1 and an A-62. Therefore, it is staff's recommendation that we are supportive of the application as it meets the policies outlined in the official plan, and that we are requesting council consider the application and support the application for approval. I'm happy to address or answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Garland. Your brevity is impressive and appreciated, I think, from everybody. All right, let's turn to the clerk to make sure that any correspondence and all due notices have been delivered in a timely fashion and that council is aware of all of those.
Through the mayor, notices inviting persons to the public meeting were mailed on February 13th, 2026 by first-class mail to landowners within 120 meters of the subject property and emailed to all applicable agencies. The notice was posted on the website and on the subject property on February 13th, advising of the public meeting, and we have not received any additional correspondence regarding the application.
Great, thank you. All right, given this is a public meeting, there's an opportunity for the public to offer comments on this file. First, we'll call on those who are in favor of this application other than the applicant. They may have a say by approaching the podium and identifying themselves. Anyone wishing to avail themselves of that opportunity? Not seeing that. All right. Any who are opposed to this application also have the opportunity now to present to council in this public meeting. You may approach the podium. Anyone wishing to do that? I'm not seeing any evidence of that. Next, we turn the opportunity to the applicant or the applicant's agent. Are we aware of any interest in the applicant's agent to do this? We're not aware. Last call, anyone in the audience on behalf of the applicant? Okay. And now to council. Colleagues, do you have any questions or comments you'd like to make about this application before we consider it more formally when we reconvene in council meeting? I'm not seeing any indication of that. Thank you, Mr. Garland, for being on your feet. Notice of the decision of council will be given in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. Council's decision is subject to appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal in accordance with provisions of the Planning Act. And with that, we can adjourn this public meeting. All right, colleagues, that means that I'm calling our regular council meeting back to order. And we have as item 8.1 a resolution to consider concerning the matter that we just considered in a public meeting. As follows, that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth receives a report dated March 9th, 2026 entitled Zoning Bylaw Amendment Z1-2026 prepared by planning staff. And that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth approves zoning bylaw amendment Z1-2026 submitted by Monteith Ritzma Phillips on behalf of Thalen Livestock Inc., affecting lands described as Part Lot 25 and Part Lot 26, Concession 9, Wallace Ward, Municipality of North Perth, municipally known as 5929 Perth Road 178. Can I call for a mover? Moved by Councillor Duncan, seconded by Councillor Blazek. Thank you. Any discussion or debate on this further? I'm not seeing any, so let's have that vote. Councillor Rothwell, in favor? In favor? And with that, that is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Garland, as always. Let us turn now to item 9 on our agenda. First, let us consider 2 items from the Infrastructure Services Department as item 9.1 of our agenda. I think that's the first time I've muttered Infrastructure Services Department in our council meeting, so we've just experienced minor renamings of some of our organization, and I'm at least paying attention, it would appear, so that's the good news for the night. For item 9.1.1, Council is invited to consider a request from the Avon-Maitland District School Board to effect a road closure on Maitland Avenue in Listowel, in close proximity to the Listowel District Secondary School. I call on Director of Infrastructure Services and Manager. No, he's just Director now. You're going to get multiple titles. Maybe that comes with a promotion. I don't know. Matt Ropp to share a report on this with us. Welcome, Mr. Ropp. Director Ropp.
Good evening, Mayor Kaysenberg, council, staff, and members of the public. I'm here tonight regarding a proposed temporary road closure on Maitland Avenue South, tied directly to changes coming for the 2026-2027 school year. Beginning in the fall of 2026, grades 7 and 8 students will be attending Listowel District Secondary School. As part of an interim expansion, portable classrooms and a separate play area will be located across Maitland Avenue South from the existing school. The Avon-Maitland District School Board approached the municipality with concerns about increased student crossings between the existing school and the proposed portable classrooms, especially during peak drop-off and pickup times, raising the risk of vehicle and pedestrian conflicts if Maitland Ave South is left to operate in its current configuration. Staff reviewed 3 operational options for the segment of Maitland Ave South between Main Street East and Clayton Street East. Option 1 being keeping the road as is with its current 2-way traffic configuration. Option 2 looked at converting it to a 1-way traffic. And option 3 considered temporary closing a defined portion to through vehicular traffic. Looking at the three options, option one preserves the existing vehicle patterns, but does the least to reduce conflict points between vehicles and pedestrians, and would require additional controls to enforce and manage increased crossing demand. Option two, which is the one-way consideration, can reduce some conflicts, but it also introduces new issues like higher speeds and shift congestion to nearby streets, which will still require students to cross an active travel lane. Option three, which is temporary closing a section of Maitland, provides the highest safety objective and most meaningful reduction in vehicle-pedestrian conflicts by limiting traffic in the school crossing area and creating a more predictable environment. Temporary jersey barriers will be installed at each end of the closure limits. A turnaround, which you can see on the screen in front of you, get my direction south, just south of the barn, would provide room for a turnaround location for vehicles entering from Main Street East. Signage would be updated to redirect traffic. Pedestrian crossings would remain unchanged, and school bus unloading and loading zones would occur off of Clayton Street East. The school board is committed to covering the full cost of the barriers, turnaround, and signage requirements. I want to acknowledge the following resident concerns we've heard as part of this review. So if you don't mind, I'll just list those off. Comments are, there isn't enough off-peak traffic to warrant a full closure. If Maitland Ave will still be used as drop-off pickup, and whether that creates capacity pressures at the turnaround location. Other concerns were left turns onto Main Street during peak times could cause backups and block private driveways. First responder access during pickup and drop-off periods could be delayed. And finally, there was operational questions around future parade routes, as Maitland Ave is currently used as a queuing area for parades, and around snow storage along the right-of-way and at the turnaround location. Staff are committed to completing baseline traffic counts in the coming weeks to ensure meaningful comparisons for any of the considered options. It is also recognized that traffic patterns will change for either option 2 or 3, and that the school board is committed to working with the municipality to minimize the impacts of any change on the neighboring residential properties. Lastly, I would like to highlight that all the concerns raised by the residents are valid points, and they are why we are recommending this as a 2-year trial with active monitoring and a commitment to report back to council with observations, feedback, and any recommended adjustments before the trial ends. Staff are recommending that council approve a 2-year trial closure beginning July 1st, 2026 of Maitland Ave South from Clayton Street East to approximately 60 meters north of Clayton. So a 60-meter section would be closed for 2 years. And finishing off, joining me tonight, I have Sherry Carter, who's the Superintendent of Corporate Services and the Treasurer, and Hugh Cox, who's the Senior Manager of Facilities, both with the Avon-Maitland District School Board. Myself, as along with my 2 colleagues, would be happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rupp. Colleagues, questions, comments? Councillor Blazek.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Kiesenberg, I have sort of a few concerns. I share the concerns of those neighboring landowners, and I feel as though a little more consideration to the impacts of those who live on that street needs to be given. Perhaps an impact study. I'm not sure, but it feels to me as though not enough weight is being given to the impacts on those landowners. The turnaround looks like a traffic nightmare to me. It looks like several accidents waiting to happen every day. I also feel as though a 2-year trial period feels as though that is a very long time. And if we are looking at traffic impact and data collection, I think that we can do that in a shorter window. When we are looking at 2 years, it feels to me as though we're leaning towards a permanence that I'm not prepared to lean towards. And lastly, these are 7 and 8 students, 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds, and I really think that as a society as a whole, we are not giving children enough credit. They need to be able to go out into the world and risk assess and risk manage, and crossing the street for a 12-year-old and a 13-year-old. I understand that there are extenuating circumstances and some students that need extra care. But we need to be able to give children the benefit of the doubt. The skills and tools to cross the road safely is a very, very bare minimum thing that they should be acquiring before they leave us and head off into the real world. And I think that we are not giving them enough credit. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Blazek. Councillor Richardson.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg, and through you. And I tend to agree with Councillor Blazek as this, for the residents who happen to live in the street, this is a little concerning. Traffic will be an issue given the amount of breaks the school does take with students, whether it be March break, Christmas break, summer break. Having that road closure will be of no benefit to the school at that point, barring summer classes if there happens to be summer school. But it would be just a significant nuisance for the residents who happen to live there and come and go daily, in my opinion. I also feel that possibly it can certainly be brought back to look at the full impact, maybe not a full study, but like a pointed, laser pointed type of focus on this particular street, because I do believe there are three or four residents on the street. 3. That even though there's not a lot of residents, everyone matters. That we need to keep everyone to close the street for that. And also made mention that grade 7 and 8s, that we possibly a illuminated crosswalk or something like that, that if we can put that in, would be better than physically closing the road to do that. And also, is the drop-off still going to be on Maitland? Or did it mention somewhere in your report that there's also drop-off on Clayton and pickup?
Sorry, through the mayor, the school bus pickup and drop off would be
Yes.
solely off Clayton Ave. They mentioned that there'd be smaller buses would still use Maitland, like the accessible buses would still use Maitland because they can make that turnaround location. And then in talking with the school board and the principal, there's also like pickup drop off areas for like vehicular access off of Nickel.
Off of Nickel?
Yes.
Okay. So bus traffic could potentially be limited on Maitland? Standard size bus traffic?
Correct. Through the mayor, like the buses aren't intended to use that turnaround. It's solely off of Clayton Street where they would load and unload.
I still think a crosswalk or a little more work to get the actual impact for the 3 residents that happen to live on Maitland, just closing the street. If it was a primary school, I would see that. Little children, I could certainly see that, but you do get 12 and 13-year-olds, and I do think that, I tend to agree that I think just a little more research and to look at the different opportunities and possibly an illuminated crosswalk that can safely cross during past their semesters, like when they're done going back and forth to class. How many classrooms are proposed for the portables? Approximately, since I've been in high school, and we had just gone to semesters at the time, but yes, I know it's hard to believe, but how long for a class, if there's 4 changes, 2 in that, are they 3 to 4 hours now or how long is I'm sorry, but I just don't know how long is a session of class that they would be utilizing a crosswalk or whatever means go in place.
Yeah, so sorry, through the mayor, I stand corrected. There's 2 portables, and the school day runs from approximately shortly after 8 o'clock to about 2:30. So at any time in there, classes are around 90 minutes. So you have four changes of classes as a potential throughout the day.
Okay, thank you. I just think a little more research and possibly to keep traffic moving on that street is better than the closure, given the limited hours and breaks that the school would take. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
I want to follow up on something that you hinted at and that I think is important here. My understanding is that those portables are not going to be used by the grade 7s and 8s, but they're going to be used by senior students, those who are in grade 9 to 12, who are that much more mature, according to Councillor Blazek's working theory. So, it's perhaps not as significant in terms of it being a younger audience that's crossing the street. It's an older audience that's crossing the street. Am I incorrect about that? Mr. Rupp, do you want to allow someone from the school board to respond to this?
Thank you through you, Mayor Kassenberg, and to council for allowing us to address the group. The two portables that are there currently will be alternate programming, so they won't be following a traditional school day. There'll be older students agreed dropping in and out throughout the day, but the bigger concern is access to the yard area and the basketball standard, and those will be 7-8 students crossing regularly for the 4 periods. So not into the portables, but using the play space.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing to make comment on this or ask questions? Councillor Andreessen.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Kassenberg. I have a question about the busing. So I understand the buses are going to be lined up on Clayton. Is that correct? And if that is, then is there a paved area where they will drive up onto, or will they remain on the street?
So through the mayor, the buses currently use Clayton Ave. And there are certain locations where there's a paved, what I call like a paved boulevard, and there's other spots where there's a grass boulevard. They have to walk across the boulevard to get to a sidewalk.
Thank you. And secondary to that, so I'm assuming there'll be more buses on Clayton then, since they are redirected off Maitland. That could potentially cause issues for residents who are living on Clayton to access that road to get in and out if those buses are on the street for probably half an hour twice a day. Is that something that is being considered? Because they will be definitely obstructing the road for residents to access that area.
Yep. Through the mayor, with the buses currently using Clayton as a pickup drop-off area, there are already have been areas highlighted for improvements for pedestrian access along there. So improving the sidewalk and having a paved boulevard for them to step off on. So those are already things that are under consideration between the municipality and the school board, being that they're already using Clayton Ave as a pickup drop-off area.
Okay, anyone else? I find myself, just one more question that sort of builds on Councillor Andreessen's question as well. I'm looking at Nickel, and I know if I understand things correctly, some of the school buses now are on the parking lot that's back onto Nickel. So now we're also affecting neighborhoods behind the school on that side, potentially. I don't know exactly the plans for those buses there, but it sure does seem that Clayton and Nickel need to be figured into our calculus when we're thinking about the impacts in that neighborhood, when we're thinking about whether we want to do this or not. So I just, hopefully that's in our thinking. Mr. Robb.
Yep. Well, through the mayor, one last item I just wanted to highlight. As we're all aware, the high school is a landlocked campus, and we don't have any other schools in the municipality that have alternate infrastructure where the students have to cross the street with regularity. So that was part of the consideration here for the considering the vehicle and pedestrian conflict points.
Okay. Colleagues, other questions or comments? Let's see if someone else has some first. Leanne, if you don't mind. Anyone wishing to ask any further questions before we go back? Okay, Councillor Rothwell.
Thank you, Mayor Todd, members of council, staff, and public. Thanks very much for the presentation. This is a very unusual circumstance that we're dealing with in terms of grade 7/8s coming in and having accommodation within the high school. I appreciate the clarification regarding the 2 portables, as well as the fact that they're used for alternative program and not for the grade 7 and 8s. I know there was some conversation as to whether or not that was the case, so I'm glad for that clarification. My understanding is that there's multiple times through the day where grade 7 and 8s will be using the play area and that the alternative programming students will be coming and going as they did previously some time ago when there were 2 portables there. So of the 2, certainly the alternative programming going through the schools to use the portables has some history. The new history, of course, is the grade 7 and 8s coming to and from the playground area. So I do know that the high school, although I did not attend here, certainly with the parking area to the south, as well as the track and so on, further to the south, there has been historically, students have traversed south Clayton, across Clayton to those yards. The play areas, though, as I understand, on this east side, traditionally have only been used sort of after-school programming. Correct me if I'm wrong, school board staff, but for track and field as well as other gym type programming, but on occasion, and certainly not in winter months and so on. As I understand, the residential, existing residences to the north that front on Maitland will continue to have access through to the north to Main Street, but not to the south to Clayton. So clearly that's an issue, but they will still have access. I just want to confirm that's the case. Thanks very much. But the turnaround points, and I believe the critical issue is not just the day-to-day in terms of the small school buses, as well as some limited drop-off of students through to Maitland, but it's also for, it's designed to accommodate emergency services in terms of police and fire and ambulance, as I understand. So given those circumstances, I believe in the terms of the discussions that staff, our staff have had with school board staff, the preferred alternative is given here, has looked at the wholesome issue, and knowing full well that Director Robb has said that they have taken the concerns of the residents seriously, and they will be looking at these matters critically, and perhaps we'll be looking at some adjustment. I'd be in favor of this proposed resolution. It is an extremely busy spot. Anyone that's been by there, and it's only getting busier with the grade 7 and 8s there. And I understand Councillor Blazek's point and so on, but I also know this is that distractions happen, especially when we're going to and from areas where our own safety may or may not necessarily be your top of mind. Should be. Only once, though, will it be an issue if someone hasn't paid attention, either A, the student, or B, the driver, which is the main reason why I'm willing to support the 60-meter closure for this 2-year trial period. Thank you.
Thanks. Councillor Johnston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple of points or questions. First one, snow removal. Matt, where will we push it to, or how will we get rid of this? We do seem to get snow in the wintertime here now, so.
Through the mayor, yes, this winter's been a great example of that. So again, in consultation with our operations group on how we would maintain that turnaround point with our snow removal equipment, that's why it's designed the way it is, or the size that it is. It's probably too big for most vehicles, but it's big enough for our snowplow to get in there, push the snow out, and then turn around and exit back out towards Main Street.
Second to that, we've been known around this municipality that we get wayward tractor trailers that are completely lost. If a tractor trailer was to turn on Maitland and all of a sudden come upon a closed, he can't get out, would they be able to get turned around?
Through the mayor, technical question, a 50, it's not showing on this drawing, but a 53-foot tractor trailer cannot make that turn, but a 46-foot trailer can. So what we used was the fire apparatus template for turning, which can accommodate school buses, fire trucks, and delivery size, I'll call them, type trucks, but not 53-foot transport trucks.
Because you know it will happen. One last thing. With regard to the motion that we have in front of that's not approved or nothing yet, or even started, could we add in there that it's reviewed after 1 year? Because if it's a disaster, you know, where we are, I don't know where, you know, we end up that there's way too much traffic on the road and we're getting complaints all the time. If we were to approve it for a 2-year trial period, but could we put in there with a 1-year reference that we could see how it's going in 1 year, that potentially if it's a disaster, it wouldn't have to go the second year? I'm just throwing ideas out there.
Yep. Through the mayor, I think we'll leave that decision to council, but I think that's a great idea. It gives a significant amount of time, especially when something new is transitioned. There's always that first little while it takes people the time to get used to the change in this area. So 12 months would seem reasonable to staff.
Okay, I have a question or two of my own. Councillor Duncan, I see hand raised. Go ahead.
Not so much a question, more of a concern about the amount of traffic that's going to end up going back out. I know there's quite often times you can sit at the corner of Tremaine and it takes forever to get out there. So I'm worried about sending traffic all back out that street one way and it creating another backup in traffic there at that corner, and then people do silly things when they can't wait.
Okay, I'll come back to Councillor Blazek. I have one technical question and then a vaguer question that I think is important. With regards to that turnaround stub that's there, so if I'm following right, a vehicle, and you say that 46 feet might be the maximum, a vehicle pulls in and might get close to the barrier that would be installed at the point that's designated. And to get into that sort of turnaround lane, they're going to have to back up. Am I right? Is this kind of motion with the car? See, for me, that's a nightmare. I appreciate that a lot of people have lovely car cameras and can see what's going on behind them, but I don't want to own two publicly. I would find that a difficult turn to make even in my little SUV. So I'm not sure that I like the configuration of that. And I know certainly in a lot of the plans that we've seen in subdivisions, for example, we look for turning bulbs and all this kind of thing to try to improve the radius. Of course, the problem with a turning bulb is it tends to become pretty permanent, right? You're going to pave it, you're going to do things to it to make it permanent. So there's an issue. My vaguer question is this. There is a choice that's being made here to have students cross this street to use basketball courts and some of the facilities on this side of the road. But the school has this indoor courtyard that probably could be used for some of those purposes. And so I'm not quite sure why they're making the choice that they want the kids to cross the street when there are probably other places on the campus where they could remediate or bring to standard the service that they're hoping to have for these kids. And so it's kind of a vague comment, but it's like there's more underneath that campus real estate that could be used in meaningful ways, I think, for this purpose. All right. Councillor Blazek and then Councillor Andres.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Kiesenberg. To your point, you're also in this turnaround relying on the patience of the driver coming after you to give you the room to turn around and get back out. And, you know, that could be a struggle. But to Councillor Duncan's point, when you are trying to make a left turn out of there, don't forget that the very next street or the very next block has a crosswalk. And so when the light is red there, the crossing guard is out there with their stop sign, that becomes an additional really massive traffic flow problem, because trying to make a left out of there when traffic has stopped along Main Street for a lengthy period of time. And I happen to have a high school student of my own, and I would love to pretend that they are always going the block down to cross at the crosswalk before coming back to head in the direction of the northeast area of town. But let's be realistic, that's not the case. There are dozens upon dozens of students crossing that road on a regular basis while vehicles are trying to turn left and coming out. And I feel like while we're trying to avoid a safety issue at one end of the street, we are causing another major safety issue at the opposite end. Thank you.
Councillor Andreessen, you're next.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Kiesenberg. In terms of creative solutions, and to your point, Mayor Kiesenberg, there is quite a bit of parking space on the interior campus footprint of this property. In my mind, wouldn't it be better to put the 2 portables on those parking areas, including the basketball court, keeping it on the interior of the property, and then move the parking to where the portables are? You could relocate that even by putting some gravel down for a while, and creating some parking there. And then we don't have any students crossing that road. You're keeping everyone on the interior of the campus. I think there is land there. I think there's opportunities to make those kinds of creative changes, versus a lot of commotion with this turnaround, which I'm very, very concerned about too. I think it's going to cause a lot of chaos. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to weigh in before we consider this? Councillor Anstad.
Thank you, Mayor Kiesenberg. Just briefly, and all great points. The one thing I did want to bring up, the last time we tried a one-way street experiment, I think everyone remembers that. So maybe I'll just leave it at that. But again, all good points. And again, I think that we just need to be cognizant that there's a lot of people involved here. So thank you.
Councillor Anstad, you just caused my blood pressure to spike. Thank you. Good man, good man. All right. Councillor Rothwell.
Thanks very much, Mayor Todd. Just further to points regarding concerns of traffic exiting to the north on Maitland. Perhaps staff could give us the some possible solution and the probability of a right turn only from Maitland south as we head north. Would be a right turn only, which would mean eastbound onto Main Street, to address the issue of concern, which is already there today. And frankly, the traffic is, as I would understand, is less likely that we're going to have less traffic as a result of this proposed change. But still, to address the issue of concern about safety, perhaps one-way right as we come north on Maitland to Main, right only, which is going to address the issue of students crossing at Maitland, as well as the crosswalk further to the west. That's a possibility. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Rothwell. I don't want to be impolitic, but it feels like we're solving a problem created by a problem, and I'm not sure that I'm totally comfortable with that logic structure. Councillor Richardson.
Thank you again, through you, Mayor Kiesenberg. Just one point. The way the motion is set forward now, I am not going to support it. However, I would like staff to come back with some different options, whether it be some creative signage, an illuminated crosswalk, or to come back with a couple of different options, because I'm certainly not in favor, and I'm not going to profess to have the answers of what would happen to be. I'm not the expert. But I do think that even though a lot of work has gone into this, I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze for it. We have to maintain that the ultimate priority is student safety, but other points have been raised here this evening to say that, because I know that neck of the woods, there's a lot of students on the road that don't even use the sidewalks that they use around, and that happens to come with some of the youth that we have. They cross over to the football fields, and I do know that now. But their safety is top of priority. So I'm certainly not being flippant about it, but I certainly think that there's possibly some better options to come forward to, I guess, not appease everyone, but come to the best solution. And even at that point, they could possibly do a trial for that there. That's my 2 cents again.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Richardson. Anyone else? Councillor Johnston, just a little bit more.
Matt, have we ever done any traffic counts on Maitland, Clayton, or Nickel?
Through the mayor, no, that's what we proposed doing the next few weeks, is trying to take some baseline numbers so we have an idea of what we are seeing before or after any proposed changes.
Okay, anyone else? Last opportunity for comments. All right, we have a resolution here that takes us to the point of closing this. Do we want to test this resolution? Do we want to have this received on the floor, or does council wish another action? Okay, Councillor Richardson.
Thank you. I promise this will be it. I would like to see it not necessarily come forward at this time pending more information from staff, and to also be included would be those traffic counts, because I was going to mention those traffic counts because I certainly think they would be a good indication to the amount of foot traffic that we are trying to mitigate here through these different solutions, because that would be a pretty good indicator. So I would possibly, unless we need an option brought forward tonight, to defer pending more information.
Okay,
Thank
thank you. I think if we're going to substitute a resolution that sends us back to staff, we don't want staff sort of scurrying wildly into, guessing what it is we want to know. So if we go there, then I think we need to stipulate to staff what kind of information we want. And I appreciate that you've put on the table some traffic counting process that would unfold on the neighboring streets all around the school, and including at the Main Street intersection with Maitland and probably with Nickel as well, just so that we understand that. There probably are some other features or factors, though, that we'd want to measure, and I don't think we, in fairness to staff, put a resolution on the floor that gets considered that doesn't say this is what we want you to actually look at. So what else do people want to know? For me, I want to know what the neighbors on Nickel and on Clayton are thinking about this as well. I think that there's implications for those neighbors, and perhaps even, I think there are some homes along Main in sporadic fashion that also might need to be consulted for impact statements. So I would add that. That's some work, I appreciate that, but I know that we want to make sure that we make a wise decision on this. Anyone else wanting to add anything if we were to go down that path? Want to test that path first, or do you want to test the actual resolution that was proposed by staff? Mr. Robb.
Through your mayor, just one comment on timelines as well too, just to be considerate of staff time to fulfill any of your requests and have anything implemented before the school year this fall.
And I think that's what I was getting at, is we need to be somewhat specific and try to realize that this decision does have a timeline on it, because school season next September is important to consider. All right. I'd be interested in council's opinion. Which resolution would you like to see? One that defers to staff with a couple of stipulations of what we want? Or do you want to consider the resolution and see what happens? Councillor Andreessen, loudest wins.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg. I think my concern is that, even if we get more information from staff, is that really going to change some of our concerns about, what we're seeing in terms of this plan? Honestly, it would have to be a lot for me to change my mind at this point. So I'm concerned we're going to be sending staff on quite a chase for information, and then at the end of the day, I'm not sure how that's going to change. So that's my concern. Thanks.
Okay. So the loudest voice that I heard was Councillor Andreessen's, and it's like, let's test the original resolution and see what happens. Does that seem like a fair strategy at this point, colleagues? All right. Then let's put this resolution on the floor and see where this goes. As follows, that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth directs staff to temporarily close Maitland Avenue South from Clayton Street East to approximately 60 meters north of Clayton Street East to vehicular traffic for a 2-year trial period commencing July 1st, 2026. Can I call for a mover? So moved by Deputy Mayor Callum. Usually it means you have to support it, though, right? When you're the mover. When you're the mover, usually, all right. That's the usual parliamentary procedure, right? So moved by Councillor Rothwell. Okay, seconded by Councillor Johnston.
Can I ask for an amendment with a 1-year, instead of we're keeping the original motion, but with a 1-year update, or?
I think that is permissible if the mover is comfortable with this. So we're going to revise this to a 1-year trial period commencing July 1st. Note July 1st, it's not the school year, it's 2 months before the school year, right? Okay. So, okay with you, Councillor Rothwell? Okay, who's going to be the seconder of that?
I would second.
Okay, Councillor Johnston will be the seconder. Any further discussion, debate? We've had quite a bit, so I'm going to keep it pretty tight here at this point. Anyone else? You got it modified? All right, let's have that vote. Councillor Rothwell, manual vote in favor. And that is defeated. Right. Next, then, we should decide what council does want to have happen as next steps here, because obviously this change is happening at the school, and there is a request from the school board to do something. Now, we're not sure what their plan B is, but I would entertain suggestions. Councillor Duncan.
I'd like to see some traffic counts, and I'd like to see what it would take to install a crosswalk, whether it's got to be illuminated, like a designated crosswalk. And I'd like to also suggest, and if I think back to my high school days, I think that corner was fenced originally with a chain link fence. And I think if you were to fence that, it would help suggest where you should cross and where you shouldn't cross.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Blazek, you had your hand up. Did you want to weigh in on this?
Please. Thank you, Mayor Kisenberg. I concur with Councillor Andreessen. I am not opposed to seeing traffic counts and what a crosswalk, a very designated crosswalk would look like. I would also like, if we're going to consider Councillor Rothwell's idea of a right-hand turning lane coming out of Maitland North, what that looks like for traffic getting back into town somehow, because, you know, that means turning up Tremaine and then down Clayton, and obviously Clayton is busy, or that means turning left onto Elm Avenue North and through some narrow, busy streets there. So I just would like a fulsome picture if we're going to do that. That being said, as Councillor Andreessen said, I would have to see major impact in order to support this resolution or to support this project. And I am hesitant to spend time and resources looking into these things because of the amount of information that would have to come across my desk in order to sway me in favor of closing off a section of this road.
Okay, I'm hearing possibilities there. I think that council, we owe it to ourselves to consider the implications of staff time that might be committed here. We only have under our control directing our staff to do things, right? I'm hesitant about asking our staff to go and cook up a better model or to cook up all kinds of data, because this is a request coming from the school board. So from my take, my preference, I think, would be that we direct staff to be open to alternative approaches from the school board that better justifies a solution, whatever that is. I think that's what I'd rather have happen at this point, because I think that the school board needs to consider all the possibilities here and bring data, right? Yes, it might be that the school board needs our staff's cooperation or consultation to consult neighbors, as I would want to see that data. And it's probably more fitting that the municipality does that work. So I think I would allow some leeway there for our staff to be involved in that. But I think the next move is actually in the hands of the school board to come back, having heard what we said tonight, and bring a better plan, a more justified plan, perhaps, than what we've seen at this point. All right, do we need a resolution at this point? Councillor Rothwell.
Thanks very much, Mayor Todd. I just want to confirm the data that we're requesting. Is it simply vehicular data or is it pedestrian data? And if it's pedestrian data, I think we have to understand is that the proposed change in terms of both the two portables as well as the proposed playground area is totally going to change as a result of this proposal. So just as long as we understand that, if we know what the time frame is in terms of number of students that would be coming, when they would potentially be crossing over and back. If that's important, I think we better put that on the request for data. I suspect the school boards looked at those matters before they brought this matter forward. But if I want to make sure it's more than just vehicular data we're looking. Thank you.
I think that would be understood, and I think that the school board will have to do a little bit of modeling work, right? They'll have to take, current status of movement against projections. I'm getting into the technical details, but projections for use of the portables and the playground and other stuff on this side, and start to figure out how many students they'll have under their control that are going to use that, and then do some modeling, right? So it's going to take a little bit of work, I think, to sort of get there. But I would expect that if you're going to bring something that's going to disrupt that neighborhood, and a few of us, it would seem, are concerned about the disruption in that neighborhood, then you better have considered all the possible implications to the community of that. Staff, I'll look to the CAO. Do you want some sort of direction? As I said, I lean to the minimalist direction, which is that you remain open to overtures from the school board, which brings other options or more fully justified options.
Yeah, I think we can just as staff go back and have a discussion with the school board and see what options are available and bring it back to council if necessary.
All right. Do you want, I think you should have direction in this. I think it's a safety here. So to the clerk's table, have you sort of been following where we are with this? We want to direct staff. I think council wants to direct staff to continue discussions with the school board, focusing on alternatives and community justifications for changes in the campus area. Something to that effect. Okay, does that sound reasonable? Anyone have anything to build on that resolution that we're missing overtly? It's open enough, but it doesn't tell them to go and do all the homework. All right, that would be my preference. Can I call for a mover for that? Someone want to move that? Councillor Andreessen and Councillor Blazek will second that. Thank you. Any further discussion or debate on that one? Seeing none, if the clerks are ready, let's have the vote. Councillor Rothwell is in favor of this one, yes? Okay, and that is carried unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Rupp. Busy item. All right. Let's turn to item 9.1.2. On this one, the infrastructure services team brings forward a report on a matter that was earlier requested by council related to the opportunity presented by the Huron Shores ATV Club to post directional signage in public spaces related to appropriate ATV routing in the west end of Listowel. As may be recalled, council directed staff to not only bring back further information after consultations, but to bring back an analysis of the existing relevant bylaw, the off-road vehicle bylaw, and now Mr. Rupp has done both. So Mr. Rupp, if you would offer some remarks on your report, that would be our pleasure.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. This is a follow-up to Council's direction from the February 9th, 2026 meeting, where staff were asked to explore appropriate routing and logistics for off-road vehicles as proposed by the Huron Shores ATV Club. and to consider refinements in our off-road vehicle bylaw 77-2021, particularly around timing and route permissions. First, on the wayfinding signs request, the Huron Shores ATV Club approached staff to install wayfinding signs that better highlight the connection between North Perth and their trail network to the west. Staff have reviewed the request and have no operational concerns, being that off-road vehicles are already permitted to operate on the proposed municipal roads within the allowances and restrictions of the current bylaw. It can be recognized that some of these roads do include roads that are highlighted as a future truck bypass. And it can be known that this is a living bylaw that can be updated in the future, such as traffic flows govern. The one key consideration is this actual final sign placements. They should be located and installed with the collaboration of staff to ensure there are no conflicts with regulatory traffic signage or sight lines. The Huron Shores ATV Club is committed to cover the cost of the signs and installation. Secondly, staff have reviewed bylaw 77-2021 as requested by council. As part of the review, staff considered input from the February 9th delegation, sought feedback from the Huron Shores ATV Club, and reviewed comparable bylaws in neighboring municipalities, 12 to give you a number of how many we looked at. The proposed refinements are aimed at improving clarity and enforceability. The amendments include clarifying definitions around multi-use paths and trails, tightening language on crossing roads, sidewalks, multi-use paths and trails, and clarifying operating restrictions and exemptions, and also including an update to Schedule A to reflect municipal jurisdiction, which includes removing segments of road that are under the control of the MTO. The recommendations before you tonight are that council directs the Director of Infrastructure Services to coordinate wayfinding signage placement with the Huron Shores ATV Club on Bidding Street West, Road 165, Line 87, and Road 175, and that council directs the staff to return with proposed amending off-road vehicle bylaw for council's consideration at a future date. Thank you.
All right, colleagues, questions, first comments on this one? Councillor Blazek.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Kaysenberg. First of all, I heard from members of the ATV Club commending operations staff, not operations anymore, apologize, staff on their collaboration and willingness to work with the members of their club. And so I want to say thank you for the way that you integrated the comments and concerns of both the club and the delegations. I think that that deserves just a moment to be commended, so thank you very much. I also really appreciate the detailed attention that it seems was paid to the bylaw, the nuances and the verbiage. I think you did a great job, so thank you very much.
Colleagues, anyone else? Councillor Duncan.
I'm willing to move the recommendation.
That's easy. Let's move it along. All right. Let me read it out into the record just so we have it. That the Council of the Municipality of North Perth directs the Director of Infrastructure Services to coordinate the wayfinding signage placement with the Huron Shores ATV Club on the following roads: Bidding Street West, Road 165, Line 87, Road 175. And that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth directs staff to return with a proposed bylaw to amend the current off-road vehicle bylaw for council consideration. Moved by Councillor Duncan, seconded by Councillor Johnston. All right, any discussion or debate? I will add that I agree completely with Councillor Blazek. I think it was a very nicely done piece of work, and we appreciate the staff's effort on this. Put that in his performance review. Let's have that vote. And that is unanimously carried. Thank you. All right, Mr. Rupp, thank you. Well done. Let's turn for two items now from the Corporate Services Department is item 9.2 on our agenda. First, in item 9.2.1, staff bring forward work that has been vetted by our Governance Committee of Council pertaining to the consolidation of policies into a single new council staff relations policy. I'll call on Deputy Clerk Sarah Carter, who's been assisting the committee to introduce this work product for our consideration. Welcome, as always, Ms. Carter.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg. Through you to members of council. Before you tonight is a council staff relations policy for consideration. In accordance with the Municipal Act, all municipalities are required to adopt a policy governing the relationship between council and municipal staff. The Governance Review Committee has reviewed the policy and their feedback has been incorporated. The intent of this policy is to clearly articulate the principles, roles, and responsibilities that guide interactions between council and staff in order to maintain a respectful, productive, and supportive workplace. It's important to note that a strong council staff relations policy was identified as a helpful resource for all municipalities who have been granted strong mayor powers. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Great, thank you, Deputy Clerk Carter. Colleagues, questions or first comments? I'm not seeing any, so I do have a resolution to this effect as follows. The Council of the Municipality of North Perth adopts 01-2026 Council Staff Relations Policy. Moved by Deputy Mayor Kellum, seconded by Councillor Richardson. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. And let's move now to item 9.2.2. Some while back, council took interest in the work of other jurisdictions to ban kite fighting. In this item, staff bring forward a draft bylaw that would effect a ban on such practices generally within the boundaries of our community. And Deputy Clerk Carter can speak to this one too. Please do.
Thank you again, Mayor Kasenberg, through you to members of council. As mentioned, in 2025, staff were directed to prepare a report to assess the implications of kite fighting and suggested enforcement strategies following correspondence that was received from the Perth County Federation of Agriculture. As a reminder, there is a difference between flying kites and kite fighting. Kite fighting is an activity where participants fly kites with the aim of cutting an opponent's string. The string used in kite fighting is often abrasive and may include materials such as metal, wire, piano wire, fishing line, or string that is chemically treated or coated with glass particles. Concerns noted in the correspondence from the Perth County Federation of Agriculture included large abandoned kite structures being left after a kite fight, and glass-coated lines having the potential to cause damage to livestock in fields or debris ending up in animal feed. Across Ontario, municipal response to kite fighting have been varied, with some municipalities prohibiting kite fighting on only public property, while other municipalities are implementing bans on both public and private property. While staff are not aware of any instances of kite fighting having occurred in North Perth, we do recognize the importance of taking a proactive stance. It's worth noting that enforcement of a kite fighting bylaw could prove challenging, as violations would need to be reported in real time for action to be taken. Tonight, staff are recommending that this report be received for information. Further direction, including consideration of a bylaw at a future meeting, can be provided at council's discretion. And based on council's interest and direction, staff would undertake further investigation of the draft kite fighting bylaw, which would include a comprehensive evaluation from a legal perspective. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, colleagues, so everyone I trust understands the intent here, that we're seeing a first draft. It may or may not look exactly like what the final draft looks like because there's some more work to be done. But at least at this point, staff has brought forward a report indicating they've considered at council's direction this matter. Any questions or first comments? Councillor Andreessen.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Kasenberg. Thank you, Ms. Carter, for your work with this. I actually would support moving forward with a bylaw that would not allow prohibit the usage of kite fighting. It would be my preference that we move forward with this. And I understand there's some more work to be done, a little bit more in the bylaw, but yes, I would support this going forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing to comment at this point? All right, so let's update this resolution because I think there's probably some agreement that we want to give staff direction on this. So I think the resolution reads something like this, that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth receives a report entitled Kite Fighting for Information, and that Council directs staff to bring forward a bylaw duly vetted by relevant parties. That gives you some leeway for approval. Moved by Councillor Andreessen, seconded by Councillor Rothwell. Any discussion or debate? Councillor Johnston.
I agree with this. I just don't, I think we should make sure the staff take the time to make sure the bylaw works, because you're right, enforcement, you know, what do you do? Sarah, do I call you and say, oh, there's a kite fight going on at Britain, come quick? You know, it's almost impossible to enforce, and it's what's left over is the issue. So I think doing your research and being in no hurries, but still proactive, because we haven't seen this yet. But we don't want to pass this after we've started to see a whole bunch of these. So I agree.
Okay, thank you. Just useful comments. CEO Snell, it looks like you want to make a comment.
Just a slight amendment on the resolution. I think you said bring it forward for approval, but it should be for consideration.
Yep, just realized that too. Thank you. Anyone else? It's duly moved, it's seconded. Let's have a vote. And that is carried. Thank you. I think Ms. Carter won the evening's prize for the least resistance of council. Just in case anyone's keeping score, I can officially declare that's the score tonight. All right, let's move on to item 10 on our agenda. Does any member of council wish to ask for a report from staff or from one of our committees? Okay, not seeing that. For item 11, we have one item of correspondence beyond already shared in the consent agenda for council's disposition. As item 11.1, we have received a permission request for a food truck to be allowed at the Steve Kerr Memorial Complex site in conjunction with the Gordheimers Hockey Tournament. Colleagues, any of you object to considering this at this point? All right, here's the resolution. That the Council of the Municipality of North Perth approves the request from the Listowel Minor Hockey Association to permit a food truck on site at the Steve Kerr Memorial Complex for the Gordheimers Hockey Tournament from March 13th through March 15th, 2026. Can I call for a mover? Moved by Councillor Richardson, seconded by Councillor Rothwell. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. At this time, we turn our attention to bylaws, which have been recommended to us for action. Tonight, we have two bylaws for our consideration. The enabling resolution describes each of them, but any councillor wishing to extract one or both for a fulsome consideration or individual recorded vote may do so. Anyone wishing to extract these, or shall we consider them together? Looks like we're going to consider them together. Good news. All right, here's the resolution then, that the following bylaws are hereby passed. 18-2026, being a bylaw to authorize the sale of lands to Bimania Dairy Limited, Johannes Cornelis Byman and Hannelore Menke. And 19-2026, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 6-ZN-1999 as amended. Can I call for a mover? Moved by Councillor Richardson, seconded by Councillor Anston. Any discussion or debate on the bylaws? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. Let's turn to item 13. Does any councillor wish leave to give notice of motion tonight? Not seeing that, let's turn to item 14. Are there any announcements that would be of benefit to our community or that reflect well on North Perth at this time? Councillor Blazek.
Thank you. It's March, which means our community is about to celebrate Patty Fest. I tried to dress very festively today, as did our deputy mayor. I appreciate Patty Fest a lot. It's a really great opportunity to bring our community together, but it also comes with some safety concerns. So I want to just wish everybody a very, very safe and festive and wonderful time celebrating Patty Fest this year. Emphasis on the safety aspect, please and thank you.
I walked in tonight and I saw 2 green presentations and I thought, someone forgot to send me the memo. And so, yes, we extend, I think all of council extends its best wishes and good care for Patty Fest. We know that we're in very good hands with the KIN organization that has led this so ably for so many years. And so we look forward to the enjoyment with appropriate cautions. Anyone else with an announcement? All right, let's turn to item 15. We have one item to be considered in a closed session meeting of council. I have a resolution that will enable that as follows. Council proceeds in camera at 8:26 p.m. to address a matter pertaining to the following: a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, oh boy, regarding property described as Wallace Con 2 part lots 25 and 26 Con 4 part lot 24, Con 9 part lot 4, Con 10 part lot 4, come on, RP 44R 3254 parts 1 and 4, PT part 2, RP 44R 3255 PT part 1, bingo. Do we have a mover for this? Councillor Richardson, thank you. Seconder, thank you, Councillor Blazek. Yeah, we know. All right, any discussion or debate about going in camera? Seeing none, let's have that vote. We are missing one.
I voted in favor.
And there we go. We have it carried. Thank you so much. All right. With that, we will prepare things to move into closed session. Those who have been invited to stay, please do. Testing. All right. Council has reconvened into regular open session, and I can report with regards to item 16 on our agenda that we did discuss as a council the matters that were identified in our enabling resolution for a closed session meeting of council. Staff was given direction pertaining to the matter that was considered the essence of which will remain confidential at this time for the reasons that were stipulated in our enablement resolution. Council has a mandated good practice acts near the end of its meeting agenda to confirm all of its actions and business of its meetings for what's called the confirmatory bylaw. I have a resolution to enable that bylaw as follows. That bylaw 20-2026 being a bylaw to confirm generally previous actions of the Council of the Municipality of North Perth is hereby passed. Can I call for a mover? Councillor Richardson, seconded by Councillor Anstett. Thank you. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. Colleagues, for our bylaws tonight touched on provincial priorities. I am in support of those bylaws, will not execute a veto. This information will be provided to the clerk in writing as part of my required duties as mayor. Councillors, we have completed the deliberation and taken action on the business that did come before us tonight. And so that means that we can consider a resolution for adjournment, which I have as follows. The council meeting adjourns at 8:48 p.m. to meet again for general council business on Monday, March 23rd, 2026 at 7 p.m. Moved by Councillor Rothwell, seconded by Councillor Richardson. It's not debatable. Let's have that vote. And that is carried. Our next regular meeting is Monday, March 23rd, 2026 at 7 p.m. Dare I say, slant you. Until our next meeting, this council is adjourned.